Welcome to Starcaster Radio. This is Jules, and I have Barbara and Naomi with me today. And we are just so excited and honored to spend this time with you as we step onto the New Earth platform and create heaven on earth. So we're going to start today with the Tree of Life activation, chakras 5 through 9. Put your attention in the Trinity of the heart. Invite the Mother Earth and Divine Father to meet in the Trinity of your heart. At the center of the Trinity is the God particle. Beams of life connect to the point of the Trinity. A beam of silver, gold, and purple shine to all the corners. The colors bring in love, peace, and bliss, flowing through your heart and connecting to the crystalline formations in the core of Mother Earth. The energy then connects to the divine grace of our Father. Your body holds the tree of life, and the roots extend into the core of Earth. The branches reach to the stars above you. You are connected to all that is as the Trinity begins to spin. The Trinity enters the God particle, entering the darkness with peace. The energies of the Trinity merge with God, bringing power, knowledge, and wisdom into one. As these energies become one with the God particle, the Munalitio light enters up through the top of the head, flowing down through the spine and connecting with the God particle in the heart. This creates a gateway from the heart chakra to the throat chakra. From the core of the earth and from the Star of Bethlehem, 2 hydrogen atoms travel through the tree of life, both entering the gateway into the 5th chakra, where the flower of life rests. The hydrogen atom migrates to the center of the flower, entering the God particle and clicking 3 times to the right. Starting at 9 o'clock position on a clock to the 6 o'clock position, then the 6 o'clock position to the 3 o'clock position, then the 3 o'clock position to the 12 o'clock position, creating a full circle in reverse, erasing time, karma, and cosmic law. As the circle is completed, the Munalitio light expands out through all existence, merging all of existence within the light. As it reaches the frequency of 555, all that is collapses into the God particle, creating a gateway into the 3rd eye. The hydrogen atom of the core of the earth and the Star of Bethlehem enter through the gateway, gravitating to the center of the flower within the 3rd eye. Both hydrogen atoms migrate to the God particle, clicking 3 times to the right, completing the circle and erasing all karma and law. The Munalitio light expands out, collecting all that is, raising the frequency to 666 Hertz. As it reaches the frequency of 666 Hertz, all of existence collapses into the flower of the 3rd eye. All of existence within the 3rd eye becomes one with the God particle, opening the gateway into the crown chakra. The hydrogen atom of the core of the earth and the Star of Bethlehem enter through this gateway, flowing into the center of the flower in the crown chakra. As they enter the God particle, it creates 3 clicks to the right, completing the circle. The Munalitio light merges with all that is, raising the frequency to 777 Hertz. As all existence becomes one with the light, it collapses into the flower of life, creating a gateway into the 8th chakra. The hydrogen atom of the core of the earth and the star of Bethlehem flow up through this gateway into the 8th chakra, where the flower of life rests. The hydrogen atoms migrate to the center of the God particle, clicking 3 times to the right, completing the circle, erasing all karma and law. As the circle is completed, the moon Alicia light expands out, collecting all that is, bringing in the frequency of 888 hertz. As the frequency of 888 hertz is reached, all that is collapse into the flower, creating a gateway into the 9th chakra. The hydrogen atom of the core of the earth and the star of Bethlehem flow through this gateway to the center of the flower. The atoms enter the God particle, creating 3 clicks to the right, erasing karma and law. This expands the moon Alicia light into all that is, bringing in the frequency of 999 hertz. As it reaches the frequency of 999 hertz, all of existence collapses into the God particle within the flower of life. This has created a channel that runs through the crown chakra, down the spine, and out the root chakra. All the colors of the moon Alicia light freely move through this channel. It is in this channel that all becomes one, creating the gateway into the new earth. It is done. Okay. Gosh, it's been a while since I've done that activation. It's so powerful.
It is. Wow. So, Naomi,
ahead,
are you there?
My crown chakra is just vibrating, so I need to.
I thought maybe she had left the. I thought maybe she had left the earth plane.
I think she did.
Funny.
Well, that is so beautiful, Jules, and that is just one of my favorite activations. And it's bringing something up that I think is ready to be cleared for me. And let me say, I know I place judgment on people who have an energy pattern I don't recognize or resonate with. People who I'm super optimistic, so people who are opposite of me and they look at things negatively, and I would judge them to have a lower vibration as I do. I know that I judge these people, and I can feel myself when I'm around them. My chakras close so that I'm not sharing energy with them, and I feel like this activation that we did today about reversing karma is exactly what's coming up for me to clear. Because it's almost like I'm feeling like it's because of their karma. It's because of their karma they're acting this way. And that karma, like that they have, I just have a judgment about it. And so I really feel for my own growth, I need to surrender karma and my judgment of other people's karma. And so I don't know if I'm articulating this very well, but I would love the guidance of the Council of Light to help me fully surrender karma, attachment to karma, and my judgment of karma.
I love that. So, it's funny. I was just kind of talking about something really similar with a friend of mine the other day. And, when we were talking about being like in crowds of people, or like, people at lower vibrations will say, which doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means that, they're just experiencing their reality and different than what we're experiencing, or we all experience reality in a slightly different way. But and I was talking about kind of what we had talked about in the podcast last week about holding space for others, and how that can be a really tiring thing to do. And so I gave him the example of being in a crowd of people where, the experience of the crowd was not something that I would probably choose to experience, but I was in the crowd experiencing the vibration that was there. And for me, what holding space would be, would be for me to keep my vibration up through observing my thoughts and my feelings as I'm in a lower frequency environment, and how that can be slightly draining. And so I think in some ways you're kind of saying the same thing, but when I came to the end of what we were talking about, what I realized is holding space is really about being aware of what my personal frequency is and how I relate to others. But then the experience itself is just two different vibrations. I naturally vibrate at a certain frequency, and then, and I think this is true for a lot of high frequency beings, and it doesn't make us any better or any worse. It's just that we vibrate in a different frequency than, let's say, the majority of society. And so when those frequencies are trying to match, it causes friction, and we notice that, wow, this is different. And so then our ego comes in and wants to judge it, but really all it is a difference in frequency. And so the big question is, how do we just hold on to our resonance and hold space for ourselves in those places where we're around lower vibrational experiences? So I just babbled on forever, but
no, I love that, and I think you articulated it beautifully. And so the problem I have, or the resistance I feel in myself, is that as I'm growing, I'm realizing it doesn't feel good to judge other people. Like, how can I experience them without my mind placing on it?
I have a thought on that. What you're identifying is a fear within yourself, and that is making things seem like that. For some reason, you're fearful, and you're fearful maybe of their energies. You're not being able to identify their energies, and you are.
Are you there, Barbara?
Are you guys there? I think Barbara might have just fell out. I think she'll come back. What's so funny, Naomi, as you were talking about that, you don't recognize the frequency, what it's reminding me of is the activation of the earth, the very first activation of when the energy came in that we didn't recognize. And I just feel like there's something to that of like it's a frequency that we don't recognize. And so our first indication is to resist it when, if we can just hold space for ourselves to not fear the difference in frequency or have it, because what I think it's doing is it's causing that static, like I said. And, when our physical body is in static, its response is going to be fight, flight, or freeze, and so it's going to start the chemical reaction, and we're going to start a thought process that is going to be defending ourselves in whatever way that is. And so then then we're looking at the situation and we're like, well, there's nothing here that I should really be afraid of, and so we just start judging the opposing force or the opposing frequency in order to have an understanding of what the static even is.
Okay, you hit the nail on the head exactly. And it does feel like exactly like what you were describing. And I think if I even put words to the fear, it would be a fear of being overtaken, and I would not exist. It's like so primal.
Oh, that's so interesting. So that it would overcome me and then I wouldn't exist. So then we're like going back to exactly what we've been talking about this whole time ever since we brought in the seventh element of that fear of not existing. Is truly like the last step of releasing the ego. So it makes sense that, the ego will come up with these scenarios in order to exist. And really what it's doing is keeping us in duality. But I just feel like there's, the first step, of course, is coming to awareness if this is what's happening, and then be able to come to the awareness and observe it while in those situations. But I feel like there's something more that we could call in today and ask for support with. As we become more and more aware of these energy patterns, the easier it's going to be to release them. Oh, I think Barbara might be back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened, but I had it on Do Not Disturb, but for some reason it clicked in, so sorry about that.
Well,
I think I was babbling on. I think welcome home. Thank you. I was babbling on, and I think I was talking to the person that was on the other line, not y'all. So I don't know where I clicked off. Yeah. Anyhow, so excuse me for that. Anyhow, where are y'all at on all this?
So, oh gosh, I feel like I don't know, how can we say that in a really short way, Naomi, of what everything that we said? You were only gone a few minutes, but we talked about so much.
That's okay. You don't have to fill me in. I can listen later. No, we'll just move on.
No, it was great, Barbara. You were saying that I probably had some type of fear. And Julie said it was back to when an energy came in and we were fearful. An energy we didn't recognize.
Uh-huh.
And it just totally clicked with me, Barbara. Like I'm getting chilled. It totally clicked. When I come in contact with people of lower vibration, I have a fear that they will overtake me and I will not exist. And
wow.
It's a very primal fear, and it's where it comes from.
How about that? Wow. That is, and that really triggers something on me too. When you feel like you're moving out of control in a conversation or in a relationship, whatever it is, where you feel like you're just spiraling out of control and you're being drawn back into a vibration you are not comfortable with and you don't want to be there. And what I'm seeing too is, like, from my perspective, is it still is the same thing. It has to do with fear of being not in control of your space or your frequency, which I think in the long run, really, when we look at so many different aspects of our lives and how we're relating to something, it all boils back down to that one thing, fear. So by identifying that, I think we can proceed on without going to that space.
I think there's such a big part of just being human that, and it's such a big part of it is like, it's just that subtle like thought patterns in the back that we don't, unless there's something going on that really is calling our attention, but we're always seeking comfort. Like, do I feel comfortable here? Do I am I resonating with the people? And I think that a lot of high frequency beings, that we do this because we're constantly reading energy without really knowing it. And so, but then our physical body is always looking for comfort or safety, you could say, because like kind of the opposite of where that fear comes in, is that when our body is registering this isn't in resonance with us, like it will start to, like put off those little signals, and and really all it's like we can be in many different environments that aren't in our resonance, and we're completely safe, but our body doesn't understand that. It just understands that this isn't vibing where I'm vibing, and so it automatically will go into that fear response. So I think, like I was saying with Naomi, it's such a huge thing just to be aware that, our physical body wants to keep us safe. And so much of it, like Naomi was saying, is primal. And being conscious beings, it's up to us to be aware of when we really need to have those primal instincts in order to be safe, and when those primal instincts are just causing us unnecessary pain or separation, and and how much our ego mind will come in just to create a story to understand it. So it's just another level of how the primal instincts of our body can create the ego to create a story in order to feel safe, when it could be just as easy as just, wow, I'm in this situation, I'm not vibrating at the same level. Am I safe? Yes, I'm safe. Okay, now I'm just going to observe the difference in frequencies instead of going into this big story of what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. And I think that if we kind of decide on our own that we're going to kind of go through that process you just described, I think that it will take you to a space where you're comfortable no matter who you're interacting with or what group you're interacting with, because you have identified the problem or the reason you're feeling uncomfortable.
So in the past, when I would be in this situation, I would kind of close up my chakra system, and I would kind of close off, because now we identified my fear that I wouldn't exist. So next time I'm in this situation, I want to do the exact opposite. And I would like to ask the Council of Light to give us a frequency today that we can actually share with people during these experiences. So instead of closing them off from our energy, gifting them an energy from the Council of Light.
I love that, Naomi. That's a very good thought.
I love that. Yeah, because just having the awareness in the moment that it's happening is the first step to just really step into that observer, because the chemical reaction is probably still going to happen, but just being aware and not having to be swept away in it is really what's going to start to reprogram.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to be reprogramming ourselves to release the judgment and the fear, but also we're going to be gifting this frequency to the person who obviously came into our life for a reason.
Yes, and in doing so, we're offering them the higher vibration or the light if they choose to accept it in a very neutral way, because, of course, each person has their own, they're the ones that choose whether they want to accept a gift or not. So we have no judgment on it.
Absolutely. And I love how you said that, Barbara, too, because it's not, and this is, I think, kind of what I was saying last week, it's not about trying to hold space for them to meet us, and because that, is very fear-based, like, oh, we have to change this situation in order to feel comfortable in it. So then it's all we're doing is observing, staying in our own frequency, and then inviting whatever shift wants to happen or not happen, but it's not judging the situation one way or the other.
Right, absolutely. And that takes the factor of us feeling drained when we're in the presence of others that have lower energy, or being drawn into that energy because we're remaining neutral and just offering, and it's up to that individual whether they choose to accept or not. So it's a very positive, balanced way for both entities.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I love you both so much, and I feel, just like this big amount of energy just come through, like where I kind of had almost irritations or not movement in some of my chakra system, and I just feel like right now it's just kind of clearing out and opening up, and everything is just flowing. Just because we've talked about this, it's already in effect, like it's already been answered.
I love that, and it kind of gives me chills.
Yeah, and I feel like that by us having a conversation about these different things that maybe we don't even think about. As a rule, most people don't even think about it. They just react. But by us having this conversation, it helps to bring that energy to the forefront so that we can clear it and so that we understand it. And I think that is a really important thing to do at this point in our three-dimensional experience, so that we can understand why we're reacting in a certain way in this three-dimensional game we're playing, and truly understand it is a game. It is a game that we have chosen to enter into, and we have chosen to follow specific rules so that we can anchor our part of our essence here and play this game. But in doing so, it's really important to understand what the reason behind doing this is, and that is for us to bring this type of understanding to the forefront so that we can jump forward. And by us jumping forward and focusing on these things like we just got through talking about, we are allowing those around us to understand and to question and to jump forward as well if they choose.
Absolutely, because I was kind of just like putting this from, another's perspective, and, whether or not the other person would recognize it or not, like the frequency that's being created would be separation, because, there's a part in us that is going into resistance. And to be able to just hold, ourselves just in this really loving way for ourselves and for others is truly creating that energy pattern of unity, which is just beautiful on so many levels. And I'm just almost excited because like you said, it's not draining our energy. If anything, I feel like it's going to raise our energy because we move into a space of unity where we're connecting with the energy pattern of the divine.
Absolutely. Yes. And that is the real gift. When you understand that when you stand in a space of a certain frequency, a light frequency, and you start feeling that almost guilty that you understand and know this stuff, but your loved ones around you or your friends seem to be lost. And you feel, or this is how I feel, have felt until I kind of came to grips with it, that it's not for you to wish another soul to move on or to stay or to do whatever. It's only for you to elevate your own understanding, and by doing so, you shine the light into those other entities and give them a pathway to move forward. And that is the biggest gift, in my opinion, that I have understood is that I don't need to feel guilty about moving on. I don't need to feel any kind of restriction as far as if my loved ones move on or not, because they are going to be exactly where they should be. And I would not want them to move on if they're not totally ready to move on. And that goes back to when another past life I was going through initiation. And that was one of the things they impressed upon me was there is no right or wrong time to do this. It is totally up to you. And if you're not totally ready, then you shouldn't do it. It's not a gift. It would be a curse. So that is my understanding, and that is what I'm trying to stand in my power with this thought pattern. And because I think most people who love their loved ones don't want to leave them. And it's a mind thing, it's an ego thing, it's a fight between that feeling and the understanding that we are not leaving them. And by doing that type of thought process, we are actually holding ourselves back and holding them back.
Barbara, I love it. And as you were talking, I could just see. So if we're having an encounter with someone and we're fearful at all, or we realize we have judgment, you just shine our light from our third eye in front of them, and it will light up their pathway. And they can choose to take it or not, but you know that they have a choice, and that's all that matters.
That's right. That's all that matters, is that you have given them the opportunity to take the light and the understanding, and if they choose not to, they're not ready. And that's perfectly okay. And to get to that balanced state where you understand that, I mean, not just say it, but you truly understand it, then you have released yourself from a large amount of guilt and fear of moving forward. And I know that because that's where I have a difficult time. And I'm really working hard on that. So I think it's a really important thing to bring forward at this particular time, where there is, there's a group of people who know what's happening and understand what's going on, and then you have the other part of us that is maybe not aware and don't really seem to care, and it's very frustrating. From my perspective, it's frustrating, and I really have to work on that.
Wow. Well, I kind of, whenever we close, I have a visual that's just kind of coming to me while Barbara's talking that I would love to share at the end.
Oh my gosh, so perfect.
Yes.
It's just like as you were talking, Barbara, I just had this vision of, it's so easy to see things as linear and, and have this, I guess, like as you were talking, I was able to have the same experience and move into more of like a spherical form. And what I saw was that it didn't really matter. And you were saying that, but like just like on an energetic level, it just didn't matter because, as we continue to follow our own personal evolution, we are changing the evolution for others, whether they're conscious of it or not. Because, as we hold higher frequencies, we're holding higher frequencies for the planet and for all of humanity. And the more people that start to step into these higher frequencies is like really what's making the shift happen and, creating these new energy patterns. But they're all interconnected. So, it's like you could, like if we truly are, which I do believe, like, that everything is consciousness and unity consciousness is, it's not just a concept, it's like an actual like weave of energy that is being created and is always shifting and changing. And, just like I see like the trees, how all their roots are interconnected, and, like just this energy pattern. And even though on top of the earth, they all seem like there's a tree here and a tree there, but really underneath, it's just one huge energy pattern. And I think that's really true for humanity as well. And it's just like this living, breathing organism that is connecting us all. And I don't even know, I'm just kind of going off on a tangent, but like, just, it kind of just takes away this whole thing of like, some people are coming and other people aren't, and we all are. And it's just like, what part of that living organism are we conscious of? Because it doesn't really matter if we are conscious or not, because it's happening anyways. It's happening for everyone anyways. And so that just takes away the whole like, oh, are they going to come or are they not? And on so many levels, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And the only thing that makes it seem like it matters is the fact that we have a perception that it matters. And so we have to get past that perception that we're separate and different. Even though on another level, we always say, okay, we understand we're one. We're one with God. We're all of the God body, whatever you want to call it. We're a cell within the God body. However you want to explain it for your mind to understand, we are actually all one. And without each and every one of us, the body's not whole. So in that understanding, even on a different level, I think that it makes us feel like that if we can't bring a person or a body or a loved one, if we can't make them understand and bring them with us, we're losing something. Because on one level we don't want to lose that soul, and we feel like we are because we're moving on and we won't be there to influence them. So we're putting way too much significance on the thought pattern that someone is going to be lost. They're not. They're just progressing at a different level and a different speed, I guess you'd say. So by understanding that, it releases you from this feeling of leaving something behind or going ahead of someone and you not being there to protect them, just as like you think of your children. Right. They're going to be lost if we're not there to protect them type thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, is there anything else that you guys wanted to add to that? I feel like this was so powerful that I'm just kind of integrating it.
Yes, I think we're going to have some homework to do on this one. I know I am.
Oh, I am. I know I am.
Yeah.
Well, Naomi, did you want to end? Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Jules and Barbara, for joining. Oh, it just feels amazing to connect. And to all of our Star family, thank you so much for connecting. And if you just close your eyes and visualize the earth that we live on floating through space, and picture yourself exactly where you are on the earth, and picture your light up this dark space that we're traveling through. And you see where you're standing become light, and I'm standing in South Carolina, and there's light. There's my light. And Barbara's in Texas, and you see the light come on. And Julie's in Colorado, and you see the light. And Erica is in Oregon, and there's a light. And as we're meeting more people and as we're becoming conscious just of this whole process we're going through, more lights come on and more lights come on until the entire earth is just this beautiful golden light, and pathways are being lit up. And just feel the energy of all the amazing light that we share, and we meet each other in unity consciousness.
I love that.
That was beautiful, Naomi.
Wow. Okay, so I'm just going to hold this energy and just filter it through me, and I'm just going to ask that until next week I hold the frequency of just being a channel of divine grace.
Yes, me too.
Perfect.
Okay, until next week, we are sending you all so much love and a big hug, and have a wonderful weekend. Namaste.
Love you.
Love you.
Namaste.